Hello and welcome to this edition of Icon. I'm Ji Xiaojun greeting you from Beijing. Hope everyone is safe and well. Amid COVID-19 pandemic, hundreds of millions of people worldwide are being asked and sometimes even ordered to stay at home to practice social distancing. And in order to stop crowds gathering, first large stadiums were closed, then theaters, and then bars and restaurants. For most of us, it means having to find alternative ways of entertainment, sometimes maybe online. But what about those people who make a living in the industry of leisure and entertainment? And today we'll be talking to two guests who will tell us what it's like to be a stand-up comic at a time when the pandemic is actually keeping audiences all at home.
If you want to speak very native foreign language, focus not on grammar, but on the accent. Acting makes it everything. The restaurant yesterday was amazing, and the food there is delicious. No, try it. Oh my god! The restaurant yesterday was amazing, and the food there is delicious. She's like, wow, LA girl, how are you doing?
We connect with Norah, who is based in Shanghai. Hello, Norah.
Hi, how are you, everyone?
Do you still do shows now these days?
It's very hard given the COVID-19. We have to move the shows to online, which are more live streaming format rather than, live interaction with audience in the lifetime.
But how do you do it? I mean, basically, you don't see people. You don't get to interact like what you did. Live streaming, it's just the camera.
It's hard, but you have to face it. Like, I was following the trend for international comedians who are still stuck indoors. And what they are doing is they try to innovate like more online products. For example, they're also doing online open mics. And what they are doing, or what we are doing, is we try to keep ourselves still accustomed to the stage because we don't want to lose the energy. Once you lose it, it's hard to pick it back. So this is not the best way, this is not the ideal way, but we have to accept the form.
It's totally new experience both for the audience and for yourself. So how different did you feel when you did the live streaming performing?
I still wanted to feel that I'm connected with the audience, so I would just connect with the staff, like whoever is there, like maybe 3-5 people in the room, they're setting up, and then once I through a punchline, if they laugh, or even if they just make some noises, whether it's laughing or not, I'll feel more comfortable. I'm like, okay, this works, this lands, so I can continue with my talk or whatever.
But luckily, you still have your day job.
I know, this is really a silver lining. When, yeah, I'm very appreciative that I'm still having a time I can feed myself without starving in the comedy industry.
So again, what do you do for your day job?
I'm a sales director in a condiment company.
Now you're a comedian, and then going back to your company, you're still the sales director. When people see you as a different person, right? For different identities.
I see.
Is it a plus? Is it a kind of a tricky?
I'm sure you've heard of this phrase called "you are what you dress." So at work, I don't dress up like this. Okay, for like serious meetings, for example, or like, for whatever formal situation or occasion, I would dress up more like a business person. And they know like what's the deal, right? Because people can tell like if the environment is work or theater or a comedy club. And when you're in the daytime in the meeting room and they see my face, they wouldn't just burst into laughter. They would know that, okay, it's about business and we are talking about sales target. I think it's quite different in that type of sense. I think people are aware of the lines between virtual world and reality world. I don't have to be the one who's telling them, hey, this is TV show. It's all fake. It's all just a show. I don't have to do that. You might be surprised, but I started comedy during my last job, which is a strategy consultant, and my partner, like the partner of my industry practice, he actually organized a team event, which is to see my show and support my show. So the whole office came to my show. Okay. And nobody find it to be, distracting or like,
right.
I don't know, like dividing. They were just like, okay, off work, you're a comedian, but at work, you're still a consultant.
Yeah,
you're
people
my junior,
are pretty clear about that.
You're my senior, yeah.
You were a consultant and now you're a sales director. Professionally speaking, that's like, quite a success for anyone in, when we talk about your career, but somehow you decided to do comedy. What happened? I mean, what made you make that decision?
Well, first of all, I really love comedy, and I always have this concept. I read it in a book called From Good to Great. It says that there's a concept which is called the hedgehog concept. It means that if you want to find a lifetime job to devote your life with, the job has to meet 3 criteria. 1, you have to love it. 2, you have to be good at it. And 3, you have to be able to make value, so social value, economical value out of it. And I believe that comedy to me is that ultimate ideal thing that I can do for a lifetime. So I really love it. And also, I think it's a funny misunderstanding in China that people think comedian is a very, like not successful way or not successful job. Because, like in the mature market, for example, in the US, a lot of comedians are graduate from very privileged MBA schools, or they even can went to the White House to do shows and being very well recognized by politicians or by successful businessmen and this and that. So I believe there's a value in the whole occupation called comedian, and I believe and I hope I can in some way change people's perspective.
So what is the value that you see in comedy?
I think the China culture or the Oriental culture is very intense, like overall in the Eastern world. Like for example, we are taught to be a good student, to get very good scores and to go to good college and go to a good job. Like everything is planned. Like people cannot relax. Now after you get a good job, you have to get married, have to have a baby. Like people are always so intense. They're catching up with people's expectations of them. And I believe that comedians or comedy in general can relax people a little bit, maybe make them feel that they can enjoy life. And also, I believe that like everyone has a voice. I'm not the only voice. You may have a unique voice, and then how can the voice be heard is very interesting or like very thought-provoking here in this cultural environment. And I believe that comedy is a way that you can be funny and you can package your message in a people-friendly way, so that more people can hear your voice and can have more thoughts. And I think that's very valuable too.
I've been learning English for a long time, but I have to say that English is still a very confusing language to me. It is. Literally the other day, me and my girlfriend were in a nightclub, and then 2 Italian guys walk up to us and harassing us. And I was very pissed, right? I was like, okay, we should fight back. We should not let this happen. Yo, man, you don't want to mess with us. Because if you mess with us, I'm going to knock you up. I'm going to knock you up so hard, you don't even know your man.
It's a relaxing form of entertainment, but at the same time, you're not doing it in a relaxing way because you have 2 jobs. So would you consider in the future of, quitting your day job as a sales director and to do comedy full-time?
Well, ideally, I mean, in the long term, I would like to be a full-time comedian or entertainer. But I think the market is not ready. I think that there's still quite a way to go. I definitely have that in mind, but it's not right now.
I'm just wondering whether your boss is happy or not happy to hear about this.
I started comedy in my previous job, right? And then my current boss actually he has my WeChat. He saw all my moments. So he knew that I'm doing comedy. And then he still kind of wanted me to work for him because he thinks that my non-comedy traits, for example, like my education or my work experience or this and that or skill set is suitable for the job. And at the same time, I remember he said one thing to me when we started working together. He's like, I have a daughter. I hope my daughter one day can find whatever she's passionate about like you in her future. So I was quite touched, although I feel like I'm taking advantage while he says that you're my daughter, which is not the case. But yeah, I think that I have a lot of people from work. They actually appreciate that I'm doing a Slash Live, partially because I think everyone in their heart, they have one job that they always wanted to do, but then they cannot just quit everything and do it. And the second thing is that they just find it to be very fun, very fresh. Because in the comedy world, there's not a lot of girls, and there's not a lot of Chinese in the English world either.
True.
So it's pretty a unique thing that they can find and to be friends or to work with.
Yeah, it's always a blessing that you can find something you're passionate about and, you know, do it and enjoy doing it. Just now you mentioned the market is not there yet. So what is the market like for talk shows or stand-up comedy in China?
It's like super, super, super new. I believe people did not realize it exists until maybe two, 3 years ago when the TV shows, you know, came into sight. But I think the growth rate is like amazing. You know, like in China, you have very few comedians or very few full-time comedians, but the top ones, they are so well known. Like their reputation or their popularity kind of overwhelms those in the Western market who have been doing comedy for double time or even triple the time. So the growth rate in China is amazing. However, the market is still kind of figuring a way that suits itself best. Because every culture form of entertainment has to localize because culture is different. What I would say is that when the market is mature enough, there will be more full-time comedians. But then, as you can see, there are very few of them in China right now. I would say there's only maybe under 50 comedians in China that's totally full-time comedian. Like most of them would have a slash job. For example, they could be a comedy writer, right? They could be a operation staff in a comedy company, or they could be a self-media, you know, like entrepreneur, or they could be like me who has a totally different job. So people are all struggling to stay in the business and waiting for one day for it to mature so then they can just be a full-time.
So we will be waiting for the sign one day that you quit your day job as a sales director. That's the sign that you feel the market isn't mature enough.
I will feel honored to be the indicator.
You also mentioned the cultural differences lie a lot in comedy, especially in stand-up comedy. You do stand up in Chinese and English, and I hear you also do it in Japanese. Wow, what a talent! So how different
Shanghai
are
dialect,
they?
if you
Shanghai
can
dialect too. You're a Shanghai local girl. So how different are they?
I will start with differentiating Japanese with Chinese and English. Surprisingly, Japanese is totally different. I mean, the Japanese comedy or the Japanese sense of humor is totally different from the Chinese ones and English ones, okay? Because Japan is such a unique market. They have their own comedy system. They have their own comedy forms. They have like a manzai, they have kondo, totally different forms. And the local Japanese audience, they're used to that type of comedy. And the tempo, like the speed, is very different. So Japanese is a totally different one, which also explains why I've only wrote like 3 minutes of material and I've only performed twice because there's like very few audience in China. I have to have perform it to the real Japanese people, and also I have to really test to know what their sense of humor is. So that's Japanese aside. And then for English and Chinese, it's similar in the way that, you know, the main topic, as you can imagine, is still between man and woman, between, you know, old generation concept and the younger generation concept, and also between regions. You know, in the U.S. or in English comedy, for example, they will make fun of European people, they'll make fun of Australian people, etc., etc. But then in China, we have, you know, like how different, you know, Beijing dialect and Shanghai dialect is, or how different people are from different cities, etc., etc. However, as you can imagine, the culture behind it could still be different. I used to have a material or a joke in English, which is saying that, you know, Iron Man, if China stopped exporting iron, there will not be Iron Man. There will be only men. And that's my premise. And then in English audience, it lands, and people love it because they think it's smart. But then I translate it into Chinese, and people are like, that's a fact. You know, what's so funny about it? I cannot explain the subtleness, but you can feel, you know, the different way of thinking between audiences. And then also the difference is that another topic, for example, like sex, right? Like in Chinese comedy, sex is so intense of a topic, it's so sensitive that it's very hard to touch upon the topic, not to mention elaborate on it. But then in the Western world, sex is like eating. It's like sleeping. So everybody can talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's so natural and it's so common. It becomes a cliche topic. You have to find a new angle to tackle it.
I believe so. I mean, basically, in different cultures, there are some topics you never touch. But there's some topics that might work in one culture, probably won't work in a different culture at all.
Yes.
So that's totally understandable. So what about the audiences? Mostly younger generation, I presume?
Yeah. In China, the audience for comedy is way younger. I would say the average age is only like 30 maybe in China. However, in the Western world where I performed, I remember once I went to perform in a wine house and the average age is like 55, the audience. And you can imagine how horrible my joke is to those, 55-year-old white people in the U.S. They just find it to be interesting. It's just very different.
Yeah, you need to know your audience
comedy,
to make sure your punchline will work.
It's very important. Sometimes we don't have the luxury of knowing whoever your audience is until the last minute. So it's hard.
I see that, like I said earlier, you do a lot of interactions. And younger people, I guess, they understand what the form is about now. And you don't have to educate them anymore.
True.
That's good. So fingers crossed for the future.
Fingers crossed for the brighter future.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
And looking forward to seeing you live in the live house.
That'll be perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Cheers.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Storm from China. Of course, I love doing stand-up comedy English. It's my second language, apparently. I speak like okay English. I didn't even start to speak English until 23. Yeah, this year I'm 24. My favorite thing now is go on YouTube, type my own name, see if I'm famous or not.
And now we're connecting with Storm Xu, a comedian. Hello, Storm.
Hi, hello, Xiaojun 老师, 你好, hi, how are you, everybody?
Now, this is like the opening of a daily show, a routine show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you still doing shows now?
No, we are taking like a hiatus during the COVID-19. Pretty much everyone in the show or the live entertainment industry now affected by the COVID-19. But you had to do what you had to do to maintain the low infection rate. Or
for your own safety.
Like that.
That's for your own safety.
Yes.
But so what do? Do you have other jobs?
I'm writing for some other TV shows just to add comedic element for them. That's what I do now. Or doing some like live broadcasting, live streaming. You're selling stuff for other corporations. Me as a co-host on that show.
Seriously?
With another host. Yeah, everyone, we have to find an alternative way. Everyone has to find an alternative way. That's my alternative way to make a living.
How did it go?
Yeah, you know what? As a comedian, you must not enjoy it. Like, there's no way to enjoy the process of live streaming because it's very rigid. Everything is scripted, right? And you can only say nice things about the product, but everything has two sides. But as a host on a live streaming show, you can only compliment the product. But hey, that's how I get paid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the sales. Live streaming is not a live streaming talk show or stand-up comedy. No. I mean, you sell stuff.
No. I help other people sell stuff. I mean, I can sugarcoat. That's what I do. Just
come on.
Fabricate. So I fabricate. No. Most of the experience.
Storm, so are you telling the truth now? Actually, those goods you sell,
I am.
They were not good.
I am telling the truth, yes.
Wait. Are you saying the goods you were selling, they were not good at all?
They were not as good as I described.
Oh, come on.
Maybe. I don't know. Yes.
All right. All right.
Everybody knows that.
Okay. We'll see.
Not as good.
Now, I'm happy to announce to you, Storm, that your career as a co-host and selling live streaming now is ended. No one will come to you again for a job like
no
that.
doubt, no doubt, everybody, no doubt.
So have you also tried to do live streaming of the same stuff, comedy?
Not much, because to my understanding, comedy is something should be like interactive in real time, should be live.
Okay.
If we do something such as this, like through the internet, human interaction is different from computer to computer, right?
Yeah.
There's no human touch. It's very hard to do any sort of live performance.
So you need
Music,
to
comedy,
see the faces. You need to see the expressions.
Yes, sometimes you should see them and even touch them. So even let them touch you. That's how magical live performance is.
When I say human touch, I didn't mean it literally. So actually,
I did mean it literally.
Is that how people do comedy now these days?
Yes, people like no. Some routine requires actual human touch. Some routine, not everything though.
So live is gradually coming back to normal these days in China, I guess, including in Shanghai where you are now based. So is your show coming back gradually now?
So I run my own club called Comedy UN. Our shows are not back yet because we're trying to aim for a safer or more responsible approach to hold the show or like host the show. There are as far as I know, there are a few other clubs. They are running like a small scale shows between 10 to 15 people each show. So yeah, that's basically what I know.
Right.
How shows are coping with the COVID-19 current situation now.
How is the business now in Shanghai or say in China? Because when we talk about stand-up comedy, this is not a traditional form of comedy in China. We have crosstalk.
No, not at all.
We have short sketch, but stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
this is something new to us. It's Western. So how popular is it now in China?
Well, before the whole virus thing, it was pretty popular. I mean, I have to give credits to all the TV shows and give credit to all the Western, like, such as American stand-up comedy shows like Trevor Noah and Dave Chappelle, those guys, Netflix, and those platforms. So they help young generation in China to understand or to be fond of this entertainment genre. Storm, look, you're a criminal because you eat meat. We're vegans. We're protecting the earth. But no, you're a vegan because you want to look skinny on Instagram. But what do vegans eat? Vegans eat vegetables and grass. Okay? That's animals' food. You're starving them to death.
Before, when you say it's a stand-up comedy, we can't even find a Chinese term for it, an exact Chinese term for it. And it seems the format has been more accepted by the younger generation, but do you still sometimes need to explain to people what this is really about?
Oh, all the time, every day. That's my everyday life. When I meet up with a new colleague, new partner in business, I have to explain to them over and over, hey, we're not doing crosstalk. No disrespect to crosstalk, but we are not doing crosstalk.
There's a single man crosstalk.
Yeah, it's a single man. But
every single man, you do not crosstalk.
Yeah, but we cross from ourselves to audience. That's how we cross.
True.
But like Xiaojun Lao, you're kind of like, you're kind of savvy about this genre, but like not everybody's like you. Not everybody's like you.
That's true. I'm glad to hear that. But do you also need to explain to your parents what you do? I mean, parents would be worried, say, hey, do you have a job and what do you do?
Right, because I've been doing this for 8 years, and maybe for the first 4 to 5 years, my parents were worried every day because I always go out in the evenings and come back very late. And
tricky.
Yeah, they're worried. I'm a single man living in the glamorous city Shanghai. They have every reason to be worried. And,
okay.
But over time, now they just like understand, or they more acceptable about what I do now. But still, though, they don't understand. They don't understand, but they accept.
Okay, they respect your decision.
Yeah, but they were like forced to accept maybe.
So 8 years ago, how come all of a sudden you decided to step into this area to be a comedian?
I've always been a fan of stand-up comedy, or comedy in a bigger term. I was a fan of Niu Chun Fen Gong,
the crosstalk comedians.
Crosstalk comedians, and lots of others. Guo Degang, that was my mentor as well. And I was also a fan of Western style, like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. But 8 years ago, then, there was only like English stand-up comedy organized by a few expats in Shanghai. So I found them and I approached them. I requested I wanted to go on stage, and they took me in. They just put me on the stage. That's it. Everything else is the rest is history, as they say.
So you just wanted to do it?
Yes, you just told them, and they like, yeah, hell yeah. I mean, they were doing this for fun at the time, so I was doing for fun, and we just bound over the interest of loving comedy.
So when you did it in other countries, in a foreign country, using their language, how did it feel? I mean, were you nervous?
I felt like I was like a cultural rebel. I was feel like I was breaking stereotypes. Sometimes people think Western comedy isn't funny. They just silly and the slapstick. And some Western people think, oh, Chinese comedy isn't funny. Oh, such extra. So I'm the one, or some of my peers, we are the ones to break the stereotype, to let people know, hey, there are funny comedians all across the world, no matter where he or she's from.
I understand that different comedians will have their different areas to focus on. Say, some would focus on cultural differences, some are more related to current affairs.
I try not to give myself limits, because comedy is all about express yourself. So I think my goal is to just express myself honestly and try to give like joy to my audience. So if I feel like, hey, family affair is something I want to talk about, I talk about family affair. If I feel like, hey, current topics or topical stuff is something I desire to talk about more recently, I just talk about current affairs. So there's no limit to me. This is my explanation of comedian. We use laughter to camouflage ourselves. Because the real intention is to criticize something we don't think is right, or to help the underprivileged. That's I think that's my ultimate goal, or a lot of my heroes' ultimate goal, to speak up about unfair things and underprivileged groups. But we sugarcoat that with laughter, so people will be more acceptable. That's my explanation of comedian. Just camouflage. That's my sugarcoat. Or camouflage.
Sugarcoat. Right. Tell me your biggest dream for yourself.
My biggest dream right now, seriously, is to hope this COVID-19 thing just go away.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everything can be back on the track once this one goes away.
Yeah. Let's all hope for that. Thank you. Take care.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Xiaojun Lao.
Well, many thanks to our guests for their time and sharing these stories in the difficult times. Comedy can ease our worries and offer a different perspective on hardship. Laughter, as they say, is the best medicine. Let's all hope all of us can get back to our life as soon as possible. Once again, thank you for watching this edition of Icon. Stay safe.